Hey listeners, it's Tim. Can I just grab a quick minute before the show starts? As you've probably heard, Top Music Live, our dynamic 2-day in-person conference for music teachers, is being held in Sydney during the Term 2 Australian school holidays over the 15th and 16th of April 2026. Our presenters have now been announced: Dr. Anita Collins, yours truly, Elisa Milne, Samantha Coates, Rebecca Stewart, Mark Matthews, Paul Myatt, Amber Hammond. The list goes on. It is an incredible lineup, and I just cannot wait to share this experience with you. This innovative event is unlike any other conference you've attended, unless you came to Piano Pivot Live in 2020, of course. We'll have amazing keynotes, interactive workshops, live on-stage teaching demonstrations, and opportunities to connect with fellow educators, all in a welcoming, relaxed atmosphere with full catering. See the complete 2-day schedule and book your ticket now at topmusiclive.com.
What if the teachers that you think of secretly inside your head as your rivals, vying for the best students in town, could actually be your greatest assets? What if you invited one of them to coffee and talked about what's working in your area to get new students? Maybe there's a student that you aren't able to teach for whatever reason that you could refer to them, and then perhaps in the future they would do the same for you.
Hey there, I'm Rachel Airing, and you're listening to the Top Music Piano Podcast. Get inspired as we discuss creative resources, trends in piano pedagogy, ways to grow your income and streamline your studio, and new ways to engage your students each week. If you are a teacher who wants to go beyond the method books to create an innovative studio that fosters lifelong music makers, you've come to the right place.
Hello, piano teachers. I am so grateful that you are here and listening to this podcast. I have to tell you, I love when you all reach out to me and tell me that you've listened to an episode. Some of you told me that you listened to the recent performance anxiety episode, and it seems like that one resonated with a lot of you who want to be a good example to your students by performing, but you are scared out of your wits. Isn't that all of us? And I want to acknowledge that performing in front of our students can feel really scary because we want to set a good example and look like we have it all together, but on the inside, we might be shaking from head to toe. If you listened to episode 100, where I interviewed my college piano teacher, she even mentioned that it made her nervous to perform in front of her students, and she is a pro. Some of you might have become piano teachers in part because you had absolutely no desire to perform. That is so real and relatable. I have to tell you, I actually get pretty terrified when I have to perform alone on stage. When I'm accompanying other musicians or a choir or soloist, I'm not nearly as nervous, but being on stage all alone with all the eyes on me, it is a scary, scary place to be. So this episode today isn't about performance anxiety, but I just wanted to do a quick acknowledgement of all of you amazing piano teachers out there who are facing your fears to perform for your students. And I do believe it will make you a better teacher to have put yourself in that situation that you're asking your students to put themselves in. And I kind of got ahead of myself with the performance anxiety episode because we're actually doing much more on that topic next month in March at Top Music. So please stay tuned for insights and encouragement around performing and being stage ready next month. But today we're talking about something that should be much less frightening. And that is connecting with other piano teachers and why we all need our piano teacher friends. I have to say that I didn't realize that I needed piano teacher friends until I had them. And now I can't imagine doing my job without them. Piano teaching can be a rather lonely profession. Yes, you interact with many people, namely your students and perhaps their parents for a few minutes as they're picking up and dropping off. But if you're running your own studio, you likely aren't talking to people who really understand what you are doing. And to be honest, the general population doesn't really understand what we do. Yes, they know what a piano teacher is, but they likely don't think entrepreneur, business person, professional musician when you say that you are a piano teacher. They might even ask, but how do you make money? I've heard teachers say that. They've been asked that question before. Now, of course, we can all work to educate them about those things and elevate our profession. But there's something really special about having people in your life who understand innately all of those things without us having to explain it. Being able to skip right to a conversation about audiation or makeup policies or a new method book that you found without having to lay any foundation, it's honestly kind of exhilarating, I think. I have a group of piano teacher friends on Instagram, and we have a little group chat. And so I decided to ask them what they appreciated about having piano teacher friends. And here's what they said. One of them said, the first thing off the top of my head is how important it is, or how important it has been, because this community understands the ins and outs of what we do better than any friends or family members ever will. Which means the encouragement, the support, and going through the ups and downs with this community has helped me stretch farther than I ever thought I could on my own. And that means the world to me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Here's what another one of them said. I love that you all can personally relate and understand, not just the business side of things, but the music terms and knowledge too. We all give ideas on new games, activities, group classes, music in the park, etc., and are reading research articles or taking classes related to our field, which then allows us to share. Another woman in the group mentioned a specific piano teacher that she connected with several years ago and said, if it weren't for her and the connections I made through her, I'm not sure I'd be in the same place I am today, running a commercial multi-teacher studio of my own. Solo teaching, while such a fun and fulfilling career, can be isolating and lonely at times, and having even a small community of people who get it, can celebrate wins with you, makes all the difference. For me personally, if something goes wrong at work or I'm having a challenge with a student, my piano teacher friends are the first ones I check in with. I remember a few months ago, I had this group piano class that just went off the rails. Have you ever had one of those days? I'm guessing you probably have, especially if you teach groups. I have this sweet little group of kindergarten girls that I teach in a group class, and it's actually one of my favorite groups that I've ever taught. But this day was just ridiculous. I don't want to be too graphic, but one of the little girls smelled like puke. I have no idea why. And then another girl almost had a potty accident, like the bad kind. And I think there were a few other things that I've thankfully conveniently forgotten. But I was so glad to send those 6 girls back to their parents after class. And I immediately sent a message to my piano teacher friends to tell them that I almost didn't survive my group class, and I was currently disinfecting the entire building with bleach or disinfectant spray or something. And not only did they understand, but they reminded me that next week was going to be better. And then I'm not a bad teacher because one class felt like chaos, and they told me all the things that I needed to hear in that moment. Now, I am very fortunate to live close to 2 of my piano teacher friends, and so we're able to meet up in person, and we've even helped each other out for recitals and things. One of these teacher friends heard I was baking dozens of cookies for our cookie decorating recital, and I hadn't even really thought about asking for help, but she volunteered to come help me bake. So not only did the cookie baking go faster, but we also got to talk and share as we were baking in the kitchen together. And we've all taken pictures of each other's events because I'm sure you all know how hard it is to take pictures if you are also the host, the stagehand, the reception coordinator, maybe even one of the performers. It's almost impossible to also be taking pictures and videos at your event. Now, you might be thinking, that's great for you, Rachel, but I live in a really small town, or I don't know how to connect with other teachers in my area, which is completely legitimate. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys, I probably shouldn't even talk about this, but here we are. I tried attending a couple of meetings in my area for a well-known music teachers association out here because everyone says that that's a great way to connect with other teachers and find like-minded people. And I'm going to tell you, it went horribly wrong. It was probably a me problem because I didn't really make an effort to introduce myself to people. My introvert side was on full display, and I was just kind of sitting back and observing. The sense I got was that the regulars, who'd probably been in this group for many years, were giving me strange looks and whispering about who is that over there, and not necessarily in a good way. And nobody came up to introduce themselves to me. Hopefully, if you go to a meeting, you will have a much more positive experience. And I know that a lot of you are already very involved in your local teacher organizations, and I think it's fantastic. But I only share that story so you know that I definitely understand feeling like you can't find your people, or that maybe you don't even fit in with the other piano teachers in your area. So with that in mind, I've come up with 5 ideas for you for connecting with other piano teachers, and hopefully one of these will land for you. The first one is, think about who your competition is and flip it on its head. What if the teachers that you think of secretly inside your head as your rivals vying for the best students in town could actually be your greatest assets? What if you invited one of them to coffee and talked about what's working in your area to get new students? Maybe there's a student that you aren't able to teach for whatever reason that you could refer to them, and then perhaps in the future they would do the same for you. I talk about this a lot when I'm coaching pianists on getting gigs. We think of all the other pianists in the area as competition, when actually most of the gigs that I get right now come from referrals from other pianists who can't do the gig for whatever reason, and so they pass it on to me. Just this week, I had 3 different pianists reach out to me with leads for various gigs that they couldn't do and thought I might be interested in. How crazy is that? 3 different pianists. So my first idea is to turn your competition into a resource. And that might be the hardest or most intimidating on the list. So if that one doesn't resonate, don't worry, I have more for you. And number 2 is to intentionally connect with teachers online. Now, I know that a lot of us are in piano teacher Facebook groups, which those are great, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I think you need to go deeper. You might need to find something more niche, maybe a paid community or a very specific group, like for maybe group piano teachers, if that's what you're doing, or teachers who teach a certain method. And finding a group that offers some kind of live experience, like group calls or Zoom meetings, is going to make this one way more effective. If you need specific ideas, feel free to reach out to me and I can tell you some groups that I know of that are really friendly and welcoming. And of course, I have to talk about Top Music here, because if you aren't part of the membership, you might not realize that there are multiple opportunities for members to connect with other teachers and the Top Music staff through power hours, spotlight sessions, and other online events. And I think that those live meetings are some of the most meaningful things that we do here at Top Music. If you're listening to this podcast, it shows that you are the kind of teacher who wants to continue to grow and learn and connect. And that is exactly the kind of people you will find inside the Top Music Pro community. And for number 3, I have to give one more Top Music shout out. I don't know, is it a shout out if I'm part of the Top Music team? Maybe there's a better word for it. A plug, perhaps? You've probably heard about Top Music Live by now, happening in April in Sydney, Australia. And I just want to say, if there's any way possible for you to go, I highly recommend it. Anytime you can get in a physical room like that with like-minded teachers, it is going to be life-changing. If you haven't seen the lineup of speakers yet, be sure to check it out, because Tim is putting together something truly incredible for this event. So if you've been on the fence, consider this your sign to go and buy your ticket. I think that the early bird pricing is still going on when I'm recording this, so don't wait around on that one. All right, number 4 is kind of connected to live events. This one is to host a piano teacher meetup in your area. Now, if this made you break out in a cold sweat, please hear me out. This does not have to be something scary. Just reach out to piano teachers in your area, invite everyone to meet up at a coffee shop, or if you have a studio space, you could invite them for bagels at your studio or something. I'm suggesting coffee and bagels because most piano teachers have morning hours available, so it might make more sense to do a morning get-together. There's a teacher in England who's actually been on the show. Her name is Lydia, and I know her as the Cotswold Pianist because that's her Instagram handle. She hosts piano teacher walks where teachers in her area get together and go for a walk and talk about piano teacher things. Doesn't that sound so lovely? If I lived in the Cotswolds, I would definitely want to be on one of those walks. And if you already have 1 or 2 teacher connections in your area, you could co-host something, which would be even less scary, right? All right, number 5 is kind of similar, I guess. But have you ever thought about getting your studio together with another teacher's studio? Especially if you have a smaller studio, this could allow you to rent out a space or host an event that you might not have the bandwidth for on your own. I've been seeing a lot of chatter online lately about summer camps here in the US. How great would it be to co-host a summer camp with another teacher so that you didn't have to do everything yourself? Because summer camps can feel a little overwhelming with snacks and activities and all of that. It would probably require you to have some kind of previous relationship with the other piano teacher, but I can see it being a great opportunity for collaboration and a really nice experience for your students to interact with kids from another studio. All right, those are my 5 ideas for you to connect with other piano teachers because we all really do need each other. I talk to my piano teacher friends multiple times throughout the week, and we always know what's going on in each other's studios, and I know that I can always count on them to be my cheerleaders and my support system. I shared a few thoughts from my piano teacher friends at the beginning of the episode, and I have one more to share with you. This teacher friend said, "We all need our tribe." Even teachers who say they are antisocial or extremely introverted still need their people. She said that it fuels our purpose, and I love this quote that she shared. "When you feel connected, you feel fulfilled." I would love to hear your ideas about connecting with other piano teachers. I'm sure that you have even more ways than what I mentioned today that you connect with piano teacher friends, and I would love to hear all about it. That is all for this week's show. I know it was a short one. I would love to hear from you about connecting with piano teachers friends and what that's meant to you. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at Rachel Ehring. And thank you so much for being here and listening. I really appreciate you. I'm Rachel Ehring, and this is the Top Music Piano Podcast. I will talk with you again next week.
How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support, and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today.